Hey guys, in this video, I want to talk about the importance of having faith and the real difference between faith and fear. Now, in order for faith to exist, you got to have fear, right? Because you cannot have light without darkness. You need inside for an outside to exist. One cannot exist without the other, right? It's the same concept. You need fear. If you have fear, you have faith as well, right? Now, what do these really mean? And why is important to have faith, in my opinion, in order to achieve great things, you know? So you got to keep in mind, right? So what really fear is so you have this five sense physical reality, right? So where you can see, touch, taste, smell, and feel anything, right? So whatever you can see, whatever you can touch, whatever you can feel, whatever you can sense, and whatever you can smell, right? So that's our five sense physical reality, right? And what happens when you're kids is you got to keep in mind that the information we receive dictates our perception and how we view things in this planet, right? And another thing to keep in mind is that what we see is actually very limited to what is actually out there, because what we see is the visible light spectrum, right? So whatever in the visible light spectrum, we can see it with our eyes, right? But there's a lot more going on outside of that, and the visible light spectrum is a tiny range, like compared to like the broader frequency that we have, right? So now we have what we can see is the visible light spectrum, which is very limited. There's a lot more going on in this room that I cannot see with my eyes. So keep that in mind, right? Now, when you're kids, you're getting you're getting certain information. And what's happening here is, let me share my screen. So we have two aspects to our mind. We have the conscious mind and we have the subconscious mind, right? So our conscious mind is what we can use to think, right? So we can think anything we want, and we use our conscious mind to do that, right? So it's like we can control our conscious mind. Then we have our subconscious mind, which is the emotional mind, right? Which is the mind that which is an emotional mind, which is where a lot of the selling really happens. Is tapping into that subconscious mind. If you want to sell something, either to marketing or sales, you have to tap into the subconscious mind, the emotional mind, right? When we are kids, our conscious mind is not that developed. So we have our conscious mind is completely gone. We have our subconscious mind wide open, because we don't have the ability to think and decide what is right for us when you're babies, right? Because you're a baby. Now, what really happens is when your subconscious mind is wide open, then whatever information comes in, you accept it as is. You just accept it. You have no choice, because your conscious mind is not developed. So you accept whatever is being put into your subconscious mind, right? So if someone grows up with people speaking 10 languages in the house, he's going to learn those 10 languages without having any challenges, because that's his reality right from the beginning, right? Whereas if you tell a 50-year-old to learn 4 languages at once, he's going to struggle like a lot, right? He's not going to think he's going to do it, whatever. His beliefs, his limiting beliefs will take over, and he's not going to make the progress as a baby could, right? So the subconscious mind is wide open, and the information we receive is from our parents, from our teachers, from other people around us, right? And you got to keep in mind, most of these people also, generally speaking, although they have good intentions, they also went through the same thing where they were also receiving information that was very limited, right? So what happens is you receive all this information as a child about how the world works, and all of that stuff, how things are, and you go to school, and you're conditioned from early on. You got to sit at a certain time, you got to leave at a certain time, you got to ask permission, you gotta like mug up a bunch of things in order to get a good grade. You're competing against other people in order for the approval from authority. So you keep conditioning. What's happening here is the conditioning of the subconscious mind. It's conditioning of human behavior, right? So when this happens as a kid, now you grow up, the intellect developed, the conscious mind developed, right? So now your perception about life is based on a very limited amount of information that you received, right, from when you were a child, right? So even though people think, oh, they have the internet, oh, 1 second. Hey Google, stop. Even though people think they have the internet and everything, but the thing is, and where you can research whatever you want, you can be woke, you can just find any information. But the truth is the seed was already planted. You're only going to think and search for things within that range of the perception, right? Within that range, that is based on and the beliefs that were being instilled as a kid to what you saw in the outside world, right? And this is for all of us. Most of us go through everyone goes through this program, right? So what happens really over here is, because we grew up being so conditioned, and our perceptions are so limited because of this conditioning, then what happens is we are very conditioned to believe in the five sense physical reality, because that's what we've seen in our lives. You believe what you see, right? You believe what you see. That is it, right? Now, when that happens, in my opinion, that is actually very, very dangerous, because when people are conditioned that ways, you only believe on what you can see, and that is very, very limited, because reality is like, creation is metaphysical. Like, in order to create big things, you have to really, really imagine and really dive in, and really, really dwell into your imagination, and craft a clear picture of how you want to live your life, and what are the things you want to be doing, and so on, right? But because of this five sense physical reality, this conditioning as a kid, we don't even think about this imagination stuff, right? Because it's so outside of what being conditioned. So so all our beliefs about, like technology, money, government, and other fundamental stuff, they all come from the people around us, right? Some people break free to some degree, where they, get out and they hustle and they make, they get successful and so on, whatever, right? But the truth is, most people are not able to do that. And even some people who are able to do that, a genuine joy, that feeling of fulfillment and satisfaction, is a lot of people, most people actually, in my opinion, from what I see, is they don't really get that. Because think about it this way, like, a lot of celebrities, like, why did they kill themselves and stuff? Because it's the same thing. It's not getting that genuine joy, because it's not the money in itself that makes you feel good. It's the feeling of helping and uplifting other people, and that's what gives genuine joy, right? So it's you have all these beliefs and everything. Now, you're not going to entertain any new ideas outside of this belief system, these fundamental beliefs. Example, most people freak the fuck out when you talk about death, for example, right? They think it's crazy, or death, don't think about it, whatever, right? In my opinion, like, I think it's an awesome topic to talk about. Death is awesome to talk about, because life and death go hand in hand. One cannot exist without the other. Good. I'm not afraid of death. I embrace it, and energy can neither be created or destroyed. But we've been conditioned to believe in the physical reality so much that we don't even think of the possibility that maybe this is just a temporary experience and there's life afterwards as well. Maybe. I'm not saying it is, but just think about that, right? Most people cannot leave that, cannot like let go of that belief, because it's too much, right? It shatters everything what they believe, because we've been so conditioned to believe in the five sense physical reality, right? And what happens when someone's thinking from that perspective, doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank account, because in order to create something unique and that stands the test of time and that really, really leaves an impact, one, like, you got to operate above that frequency, that fear frequency. And when you have that fear vibration inside, like for example, let's take the topic of death, right? You could have all the money, a lot of that, but every time, like, if you believe that is true, that is the end, then every time, I'm not saying it is, just an opinion, if you believe that to be true, then every time that is challenged, or you're in a position where like this fear, like, suddenly your mind is going to think about the possibilities of the worst case scenarios, right? It's just natural to think that, because if you think that is the end, right? So it's like living from that frame of mind is you can still succeed and thrive and all of that, but I think, in my opinion, I think it limits growth, and you're never going to be like the best version of yourself if you have such limiting beliefs about fundamental stuff about life, right? It's just another opinion, because think about that, right? Because if that is, if what I'm saying is true, then then everything, like, gotta question everything, right? Question everything about life. And That's how most people live their lives, is like they live in that fear vibration, like different degrees: fear of death, fear of poverty, fear of disease, fear of you know, dying alone, whatever, a bunch of them, right? It's kind of crazy. But and what happens when you're operating in that point of view, you're going to seek pleasure, of course, because you think this is the end, this is temporary. You're going to be living like an animal, basically, right? You know, you seek pleasure to feel good. You know, you move from one thing to another, and it's not a place, it's not a very, it's not a life, like you're not really in control of yourself, you know. So because fear, right, five sense physical reality. Now the other side, now once you understand this, the other side of this is faith. Now faith, or you want to call it God or whatever, the other side, you can call it fear, or you can call it Satan, devil, whatever you want to call it. It's really, it's metaphor, it's actually metaphor, like it's a metaphor. Like I always used to wonder these things mean, but it makes sense, because once you understand this faith, this imagination, and this is not blind faith I'm talking about, it's faith based on understanding. Once you understand that power, that believing in the unknown, that we can use our mind to imagine anything you want, and we have this one thing called imagination, where anything is possible, anything can be created in our mind. You can imagine anything. What really happens is when you start believing in that power, you know, it gives a sense of control, not like control of, more like being grounded regardless of the external, because you know you have faith, you know that you can create your own reality, you know you can thrive in any environment. And this is based on understanding of how these universal laws work, because there are fundamental laws to this universe. And once you have that, right, it's like, think about it this way, like you imagine something. How do you imagine? You use your conscious mind to imagine something. I can imagine a picture of a car right now. I can think of a picture of a car using my imagination, using my conscious mind. A baby cannot possibly do that because their conscious mind is not developed yet, right? The subconscious mind is wide open, right? So when you imagine, when I imagine something, I can like you can impress it on your, so you can use your conscious mind to imagine, and then you impress it on your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is the mind that does not, it accepts, or it accepts whatever you give it. You cannot, you cannot whatever you feed onto your subconscious mind is going to believe it to be true. So for example, if you, I live on the 31st floor, if you go outside and look down, you know, first time, if you've never lived high up, it's gonna look a bit scary, because what's happening is you're looking down and you're thinking of that picture of, oh, how far down this is, and how does that feel, what if I fall down, and all of that, even though it's completely safe. But you imagine these images, right? Fear of height. And then what happens is your conscious mind imagines that picture, that the painful fall, and then you impress it on your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind does not have the ability to accept or reject, which is why you move back. You're like, oh shit, I don't want to look at this because it looks insane, it looks scary, or whatever, right? Because this is what's happening. We need that. It helps us stay safe as well, right? So it's always happening. We're always using we're always imagining something, and we're living our realities. Now the thing is, most people don't know what's actually happening. So once you start practicing this, and once you rise above fear and move to a higher frequency, then you can start looking at things more objectively, and really start creating things that actually matter, that actually fulfill you. Not just creating for more money or for fun, which is nothing wrong with that, but that is a product of fulfillment. Like you can get all of those things while being super fulfilled as well, right? And in order to be fulfilled, you got to create something that causes an impact on people, in my opinion. And everyone was doing this. This is like Nikola Tesla was doing this, Steve Jobs was doing this. I read a lot about that, and they were all harnessing this power, and that's how they were making things. But in order to do that, one must rise above fear. And it's really important for, you know, everyone, in my opinion, to understand this, because we are heading towards really unpredictable times, and you gotta be having that kind of faith in yourself to being able to operate along like in these times, right? because it's going to get challenging. And if you want to thrive, in my opinion, if you want to thrive and build a business that stands the test of time, it has to come from a place of faith and not fear. Because when it's coming from a place of fear, what's happening is you're going to be in a competitive frame of mind, because we are looking at the five sense physical reality. You're going to compete against other people. And that's a scarcity mindset, you know? So whatever you put out comes back in. Scarcity mindset, it's not as, you know, it's not going to be as effective as coming from a higher frequency. There's a creative mindset where you're creating things as an expression of yourself, not coming from a place of force, place of fear. Oh, I gotta have more money in the bank. Oh, I gotta feel better about myself, or whatever, right? It's coming from a place of expressing yourself. And there's a huge difference between that, because I had to, like, for me personally, like every goal I was like accomplishing, I still felt like shit. I just couldn't get it, why this was happening. I just wasn't feeling. I would feel better. No, don't get me wrong. I'm very, very grateful, but I just was not feeling that. There was always something missing. It was always the next thing: more money, more women, whatever it is. It's just a constant thing. And now I understand what is happening based on a lot of work, a lot of writing. You can check my Instagram for all my documentations and me journaling my journey. But yeah, a lot of work had to be done. So if this message vibes with you in any way and this makes sense, I want you to reach out to me and tell me what you think, and how does this apply to your own life. Because the thing is, it's one thing to know this intellectually to some degree, but understanding this properly and implementing this is another thing. This is based on faith, based on understanding. Faith is based on understanding. It's not blind faith. Blind faith is, yeah, you believe, oh yeah, I can do anything, but someone challenges you, boom, crumbles. But faith based on understanding is faith that, you know, no matter what the external is, you believe it because you understand certain fundamentals. And this comes from understanding who you are. So it's very important to get another perspective on your own life sometimes. So, you know, because we get blinded by our own beliefs, and it's important to keep getting challenged and seeing things from another point of view so we can make progress a lot faster. Because the external is just a reflection of the internal. Whatever is going on outside is a reflection of what's going on within. So if you want to change outside, you got to change within. So that's my take on this. I hope this was value. If this is, please do check out my Instagram, posting tons of stuff, and check out our other social media handles. You're going to be posting a lot of cool stuff, and hope this vibes with you guys, and hit me a message. Talk to you soon.